G'day guys, it's your old mate Big J here and welcome to another edition of Aussie Boxing Talk. And bloody hell, it's been a busy week for Australian boxing. Well, it's actually been a very busy couple of weeks actually for Australian boxing. A lot has happened. Liam Parro signed a multi-year deal with no limit. Liam Wilson and Liam Parro have been ordered by the IBF in eliminators to their next fights for world titles. Tim Tszyu will be fighting Sebastian Fundora in the rematch in 2 weeks in Vegas on the Manny Pacquiao. What's his name? I've forgotten his bloody name. Barrios, I think his name is. Mario Barrios, I think his name is. For the WBC 147 belt. Nikita Tszyu is going to return to the ring August 20. It's been almost a year since he fought, and Michael Zarafa will feature on that card. Obviously, an attempt to build up their future fight at year's end. I think it's around December. What else is happening? A couple of guys have fought overseas. Dana Coolwell got himself into a bit of strife, failed a drug test. I think there was another fellow, I think the last name was Hill. Dan Hill, I think his name is, who fought Nikita Tszyu for the Australian title last year, or the year before. He had a win overseas. So it's been pretty busy. Of course, George Kambosos lost to Richardson Hitchens, but, I think I've already made my comments on that. I think George should retire while he's still ahead. So today is the 4th of July, so happy Independence Day for all the Americans, even though it's still the 3rd over there at the moment. But speaking of which, and I'm not going to mention names, but you know who you are. Someone forgot to mention Jeff Horn's anniversary of him beating Manny Pacquiao on July 2nd in Brisbane for the WBA 147 title. And on the same day, 5 years later, so 3 years ago, Joe Patoe defeated Miras Briedis for the IBF Cruiserweight title in Australia on the Gold Coast. Sorry, just get that fucking hand out of the way. Sorry, fucked it up. So July 2nd July is actually a pretty good month for Australian boxing, because if you remember, right, those who are a bit older, remember, I think it was in July, I can't remember what date, but it's the anniversary. I'm pretty sure it's July 12th. I think that might be the same day as Barry Michaels' book launch is coming up soon. The 40-year anniversary of him versus Lester Ellis for the IBF Super Featherweight title at the Melbourne Festival Hall back in 1985. Probably the greatest Aussie-on-Aussie fight for a world title in the history of Australian boxing. So that anniversary is coming up soon. As I said, Jeff had his 8-year anniversary against Manny Pacquiao. I hope Jeff's enjoying retirement with his wife, Jo, I believe, and his 3 little girls. Jai, obviously. No, we'll start with Joe Patoe. So what's Joe Patoe going to do next? Is he going to fight Ramirez? I seriously doubt it, because now that Jake Paul slapped around Cesar Chavez Jr. or whatever his bloody name is, for 12 rounds, he is now ranked with the WBA at cruiserweight. I think he might be number 10 or something. So he's ranked in the top 15, so he is eligible to get a title shot. Now, in order to get a title shot with any sanctioning body, right, and the rules change for each sanctioning body, but generally you have to be one of 3 things to get a world title shot. You have to be a current champion, so unification bout. You have to be a former champion, or you have to be ranked in the top 15. Right, so Jake Paul is now ranked in the top 15 of the WBA and is in line to get a title shot with Gilberto Ramirez, Zudo Ramirez. Zudo does not have a mandatory from the WBA at the moment, so he could use a voluntary. And the bloke that he fought the other day on that same card was his WBA mandatory. So Ramirez has no mandatories, so he can have a voluntary next. And I'll bet my ball sack that he'll fight Jake Paul, because he will make... That's a $50 million fight. I mean, Jake will take the majority of that, but Ramirez can make $10 million, maybe more, fighting Jake Paul, where if he was to fight... even if he fought Job tie in Saudi Arabia, he'd probably only make $4 or $5 million max. If he fought Jake Paul, he'd make twice, if not 3 times that. So what would you do? Fight a guy that you could potentially lose your belts and get paid $4 million? Or fight this young YouTuber kid who's a bloody joke and smack the absolute crap out of him for 15 to 20 million, for $15 million. Which one would you rather do? I know I'd gladly take on Jake Paul for $15 million. I'd smack the living daylights out of him. So I'd gladly take 6 months, get into shape and smack the crap out of him. So anyway, I'm sure most people would. But yeah, is Jai going to fight Ramirez next? I seriously doubt it. I think that Jake Paul will do his little money thing and have... I hope it doesn't happen. Actually, I do actually want it to happen because Ramirez will smack the absolute daylights out of Jake Paul. And that'll be the end of this YouTube crap. Because while the Paul brothers, in particular Jake, more so than Logan, because Logan does his little WWE thing, which I don't have a problem with. I think he does very well. For someone that's had such limited training in WWE, what he does is ridiculous. So I would rather see Jake Paul get the absolute daylights kicked out of him by Ramirez, so then this YouTube shit stops. So, I mean, he's already lost to Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury's a D-grade fighter. So imagine what Ramirez is going to do to him. So will Jai Pattaya get Ramirez next? I seriously doubt it. Who's he going to fight next? Whatever. I think he's still supposed to fight the fella, Cesaro, I think his name was, that he was supposed to fight in January, that he got injured, and David Nika took his place. So I think Jai Pattaya will fight him next. I believe that's what's next for Jai Pattaya. Liam Paro and Liam Wilson do have been mandated by the IBF to fight in final eliminators. I can't remember the opponents, but if Liam is to win that, he will get his rematch with Richardson Hitchens. Don't know how I feel about that because I think Hitchens will just beat Liam again. Because I think Hitchens, not Hitchison, Hitchens. It's Richardson Hitchens. I need to get his name right. I think Hitchens is just getting better with every fight. And I think that if he was to fight Liam, he'd probably beat him and beat him better than what he did the first time. So I'd probably be staying away from Hitchens. But if he does get the opportunity, he's got to take it. From what I'm also hearing, that Teofimo Lopez, the current WBO champ, is going to vacate and move up to 147. So there's a vacant belt there that Liam can pursue. But if he's going after the IBF route, he's got to run straight in Hitchens again. And I don't know if I like that. Liam Wilson, similar story. He's going to be going for the IBF at 130. And if he does it, he'll join a long list of Australian fighters who have had that title. 4 fighters from Australia have won the IBF super featherweight title. Obviously, the first being Lester Ellis, then Barry Michael, then Garay St. Clair, even though I'm pretty sure he's South African. And then Robbie Peden also won it as well. Billy Dibb did compete for it. Against Tevin Farmer, I think it was 2018, I think it was, maybe 2019, it was a few years ago. And there might have been 1 or 2 other guys that competed for the title but didn't win. So the IBF has been very kind to Australian boxers. I think if you look up the history, we've had more IBF champions than any other sanctioning body. Because Jeff Fennick, Lester Ellis, Barry Michael have won. Even in the women, Susie Ramadan, Shanika Johnson, Ebony Bridges. They've all won IBF belts. Who else in there has won an IBF belt? Billy Dibb, of course, IBF featherweight. I think that's about it. WBC, there's only 3 or 4. Let me see, WBC, Jeff Thickman Harding, Lionel Rose, Johnny Femichon, Jeff Fennick, obviously. I think that's about it for the men and the women. Sky Nicholson, Sharon Amos, Susie Ramadan. And this is off the top of my head, people. I think that's about it. WBA, Lionel Rose, Anthony Mundine, Danny Green, Lucas Brown, if you count that regular belt. Andrew Maloney. And WBO, Aaron McGower for the women. Louisa Horton, I think she won one at Light Fly or something in WBO. Then you got the Jason Maloney, Tim Zhu, Jeff Horn, obviously. And of course, IBF, Jai Patai is currently the IBF champion right this second. So, yeah, so I think you'd find that the IBF has been kinder to the Australian fight. I think we've won more IBF belts than anywhere else. I'm pretty willing to bet on that. But, so yeah, Liam Paro, Liam Wilson, they'll be going after IBF belts. Tim Zhu is obviously in his rematch with Fandora in 2 weeks, going for the WBC Super welterweight title, 154. Do I think Tim wins? Yes, I do. I think Tim wins. I think he gets him in 6-7 rounds. Unless Fandora can use his jab and turn it. If Fandora fights like the 6'5" fighter that he is and uses his jab and reach, Tim could be in trouble. But if Tim is able to get on the inside of Fandora and crack his ribs, and I think Tim could possibly knock him out in 6-7 rounds. Hope he does, because if Tim doesn't win this, his world title aspirations are shot to pieces. Right? I don't think he'll get another title shot. The 154 pound division is absolutely stacked. It's probably the best division in boxing. Right? Absolutely. Bar heavyweight, it's the best division in boxing. So, and there's too many guys from 147 moving up. There's far too much going on at 154 for Tim not to win this. If he doesn't win, he's probably out, and his only option is to go up to 160, where not much is happening at 160 at the moment. Speaking of Zeus, his brother Nikita, who's just had himself a baby. Congratulations to Nikita, and I can't remember his wife's or girlfriend's or partners, whatever her name is, but congratulations to them both. I think Curiosity was the girl's name, Curiosity Zoo. And I'm not going to say anything about that. I could say a lot, but I'm not going to say anything about that. It's, I think I'll just leave that. If you want to name your child Curiosity, knock yourself out. So Nikita will return on against an unnamed opponent August 20th. He hasn't fought in a year since when he fought Carl Mazzutia. I was actually at that show. Mixer-Raffle will appear on the undercard. Obviously, they're going to tee up their fight later in the year, which I think is late November, early December. When I went to that Crawford night, the meet and greet at Crawford at the Melbourne Pavilion, that Tassie Brown put on, Mick was pretty heavily hinting towards that. Him and Nikita are going to fight at the end of the year. So, what else is happening? I have forgotten someone. Harry Garsot's looking to return, but he's dancing with the stars at the moment, so the less said about him, the better. It's just interesting that I also want to point out that there's a couple of Australian channels out there, and there's only a handful of Australian channels. And the point of having an Australian channel is to focus on Australian boxing. Otherwise, what's the point of the channel? Right? The quickest, T Street told me this, the quickest way for your channel to fail is you remove away from the reason the channel was there in the first place. Like if you move away from your core values or your core content, you'll falter. If you've got an Australian channel, but you're talking about what Floyd Mayweather had for breakfast 10 years ago, what the fuck has that got to do with an Australian boxing channel? No one fucking cares. It's like, I keep my content to Australian boxing. I know with T Street, we talk about other fighters, but I only ever talk about the Australian fighters. I don't give a fuck about anyone else. Like, very rarely have I ever gone on to his channel and talked about something that's not Australian boxing. Like, he's thrown me in there. I think I might have mentioned one or two things about one of the Fury Wilder fights. I've commented on Canelo Crawford saying it's a complete mismatch. I think Canelo will beat the piss out of Crawford. I've commented on a few other things, but 98% of the time, 99% of the time that I'm on T Street, we're talking about Australian boxing, because that's my job, to be the Australian representative. Not to talk about, what bloody, I don't know, Anthony Joshua's doing. Unless he's fighting an Australian fighter, I don't care what Anthony Joshua's doing. I couldn't give a rat's ass what Anthony Joshua's doing. Or, any other non-Australian fighter. Because I'm an Australian boxing content creator. That's what I do. So I'm just trying to think what else is there in this episode. I think that's probably about it, guys. I mean, do I see Liam Paro becoming world champion again? Yes, but I think he's only going to pick up a vacant title. Liam Wilson, it's really hard to write anyone off, because I keep bringing this up, and I'll rest on this hill. I'll die on this hill. Sam Solomon won his first world title at damn near 40. He was 39 years old when he beat Felix Strum in Germany. I think it was 10 years ago, back in 2014, I think it was. Right? He was damn near 40. So you can't count. I'm pretty sure he's got the record for the world's oldest first ever world champion. So you can't count anybody out at any time. If they're in the ring, they've got a chance. Right? And Sam had copped some brutal hidings. I mean, 7 years prior, when Mundine took him on the second time, Mundine wiped him out and everyone thought Sam Solomon's career was over. But then he fought him a third time. He'd done a few other things. I think he fought... who did he fought? Winky Wright. And Sam had some big opportunities, but didn't win a world title until he was damn near 40. So you can't discount anybody. So am I prepared to write Liam Wilson off? As much as I want to say, yeah, I want to write him off, he could prove me wrong and win a world title. And if he does, great. He should have won the world title against Navarrete, but unfortunately things didn't go that way. So there's a lot going on in Australian boxing at the moment, guys. And, that's the one thing I forgot about. The Sonny Bill Paul Gallen fight. What a bloody joke this is. This is 10 years too late. I've already commented on this. I think this whole thing's a bloody farce. It shouldn't happen. It's an absolute embarrassment. Just absolute dog shit of a fight. I mean, if this happened 10 years ago with those boys that's still playing footy, it would generate a lot more interest than what it's generating now. But Australians are well known for having a novelty fight. We love novelty fights. Yeah, I mean, having two old fellas come back after years of retirement and have a slapathon. Jeff Fennick did that with Zuma Nelson in 2008, long before Tyson and Roy Jones ever did. So if you look at the history, Australians are leading the way with novelty fights, because that's what we love. We love a novelty fight. So it's a real shame that, Liam Paro's fighting, a bloke up in Cairns and no one really cares, but, you'll get, a lot of interest in Sonny Bill versus Paul Gallen, a fight that should have happened 10 years ago. So it's interesting how Australians love the novelty fights. We love our novelty fights. We really do. But anyway, guys, that's enough for this channel before I start waffling on, start boring the shit out of you. As usual, tackle a bull, wrestle, croc, harden yourselves the fuck up. Have yourselves a great day. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you again soon.